street and come to the podium and tell us who you are.
Thank you. Carl Summers. I live on Mill Hall. Couple items that I need to would like to speak on. And I'm glad to see the police force here tonight because one of them, my beef is with the police force. And I know they're doing their job perhaps, but I have a great granddaughter that I have occasionally have to take her to the school over here and I go on the golf cart. Well, they're in Henson Avenue and Woodford. We in the golf cart, it's usually the day I was there was 4 golf carts there. They're parked off the street, in the grass, out of the way. Policeman comes along and says, you can't park here. What do you mean? We're here 10 or 15 minutes to pick up in my case, is my great granddaughter. Some of them are picking up the kids, whatever, but there's 4 golf carts. So, but I was told that no, you cannot park here for 10 to 15 minutes to pick up your child, whatever you're picking up. Which I think is totally ridiculous, and somehow, some way, I went to the police station and I said, up to the police station there, with gentleman here. And he told me that basically there are no bylaws set up for golf carts. Well, that may be the case, but when are we going to do something about it? How long have we had golf carts in the city now? Are we still sleeping on them, that they don't have any rules or anything? And what is the harm in us parking there for that, out of the way, off the street, the little dirt road, and in the grass for 10 to 15 minutes to pick up their kids, people picking up their kids from school? So whatever needs to be done, I'm not sure what that might be. But someone needs to make some changes or something in bylaws that we can at least pick up our kids from the school. To me, I thought this was totally ridiculous, and I'm sure the policeman was doing what he was told to do. Why he was told to do that, I don't know that either.
Okay, Carl, I understand what you're saying, and on the surface of it, it makes total sense. But it's a longer conversation than I think we can have tonight. I see that you've talked to Chief Eason.
Yes.
But Mike is part of this. We are working on golf cart rules. We're waiting for Oakland Park to become accessible, which will make a big difference in how we regulate golf carts. But they're happy to sit down with you and talk with you about the current situation and what will come and when. Does that make sense? Because Mike is.
Well, yes, but how long has this been going on? I mean, I've been going up there for 2 years. When did you finally do something about it?
We're trying as hard as we can. We've already had a couple different meetings on what we do and how we do it with golf carts, because we want to line, of course, we want to garden so they can get that way with open park so you guys can get kids to school. So we shouldn't be really too much longer with it. Steve, where's Steve? You were over here last meeting, so where are we with it? Golf cart?
So we had some discussions last year, one of the things that we're looking at is expanding the footprint for golf carts, because right now it's only in the town center area.
Right.
We've got other neighborhoods that have come into town now that would also like to have golf carts. With that, it takes a couple of things to happen. It would be discussing the speed limit on Oakland Avenue and lowering that speed limit so that those other neighborhoods could be connected. That would be Longleat, Trailside, and Hull Island, as well as the Oakland Nature Preserve, so that you could get to all those neighborhoods legally with the golf cart. And the other piece of it is Oakland Park. We're going to have 3 connections to Oakland Park, which will allow Winter Garden and Oakland to pass back and forth so that people could go to downtown Winter Garden. So it's kind of a bigger conversation, and there's a couple pieces to it. The driving factor is that what we've had in place has been there for 15 years now. At least I think goes back to like 2005, probably 18 years. Is when those connections are made with Oakland Park. So that's been kind of like the sense of urgency based off of that. This is the first issue I've heard with people picking up at the school. We do know that we need to, as part of this, actually decide how people can pick up their kids from school when that new ordinance goes into place. Whether it's at the school, because now you'll be able to use Oakland Avenue, or whether it's over here in Winter's Landing. Also trying to be sensitive to those residents in Winter's Landing, whether they want the golf cart, lined up over there. Because once we open this up, there's going to be more people doing exactly what you're doing. So we do know that it needs to be addressed. It hasn't got to the point where we've got a clear plan on how to address the pickup and drop off of the schools. But that does need to be part of the conversation. So it should happen. Oakland Park is looking at like about August to have the roads connected, so we need to have something in place. That's kind of the driving factor. So over the course of the next 6 months, there will be more discussion and the presentation of an ordinance to cover expanding the footprint, as well as discussion on how the school gets engaged. But that was one of the questions we brought up last year, just to make sure that that is part of the conversation.
So for the time being, where we're at then, we still can't park there. I mean, like, I've been parking there for 2 years. We all said, oh, you can't park there. I mean, if you were blocking the street, you're on the street, you're off the road, you're on the street, you're in the grass, totally out of the way of everything, and you spend 10 to 15 minutes. But why is there harm all of a sudden, now that there hasn't been a harm for 2 years?
I don't think it was ever actually approved as a golf cart pickup
I
area.
realize that.
And so that's,
It's changed the picture. All of a sudden, I'm reinforcing the policeman tells us we can't.
And the only reason I believe is probably being enforced now, because there are more golf carts around and it's the fear of other residents of us stacking up more. But you know what we can do, let's kind of sit and talk about the school thing, maybe it's a separate issue and what we can do with it, maybe just mediate things a little bit. I think we're more well.
Yeah, it's very frustrating, and I understand exactly what you're saying, that these things move so slowly, but there's a lot of moving pieces, there's a lot of approvals that we have to get from other jurisdictions, especially about speed limits. And, we've been waiting for Oakland Park to finish their part. And, for whatever reason, the housing has slowed down and they have not gotten it as quickly as we anticipated. But like Mike said, maybe, they can sit down and figure something out.
For that piece of it,
Yeah.
for the school, till we get the full package together, I promise you. We'll get that.
Already, I appreciate that. The other part is about Oakland Park. And of course, I live on Mill Holland and live on the lake.
Yeah.
4th house from the end, about 500 feet from the canal. In Oakland, we had no problems. The sandbar behind the houses, the Oakland Park started in. So they can say what they want to be, but Oakland Park is a problem. All this dirt and sand that we have is taking all the properties behind the houses. Didn't come from Johns Lake. It come from Oakland Park. And it's time that somebody got involved with this and did something about it. I'm the 4th house from the end, so I'm about 500 feet before it comes in behind the house. I already noticed I had about 5 foot behind my dock. Now I've got about 3, so it's starting to come past my house, and I'm the 4th house, about 500 feet from that island. So
It has come full circle for us to be a full court press to try to figure this out, so.
Yeah.
There won't be any lag time as far as, we're not gonna talk about this, this is gonna be, in my mind, on our agenda at least once a month, is the product that we make it to a good decision, because we realize that it's an extra.
You need some agenda item, that's.
No.
it isn't.
It is or it isn't? Oh, it is. So let's hang on to it. Thank you, Carl.
Kind of following up with part, Housing, 51 Vandermeer Street. we need to do something about Oakland and Poe. I have seen so many people run that stop sign, not even stop, not even slow down, not even look. We need, maybe we're not getting a, maybe not a traffic light there, but with some kind of flashing light on the stop sign or something or other to wake people up.
Okay.
Point made.
All right. That was fun. Thank you, guys. This is the best way. While we don't like to extend agendas, but this is the best way for us to actually react to things versus assuming that if you put it on Facebook, that we're going to know about it. So we appreciate participation and people showing up, and let's just talk this through as government neighbors. You know, we're a small town and we should not be adversarial, and we do appreciate that very much.
Thank you.
And Carl, thank you. All right, we're gonna get to the consent agenda. Does anyone have any questions or anything they would like to pull out of the consent agenda that we can pull out? No?
I'll make a motion to accept consent agenda.
I'll second
Moved and seconded, all seconded. Any public comment? All in favor? Thank you. All right, resolution 2023-.
Fair Commissioners, Jack. Just Bennett. We have an annual process that we go through with the waste hauling contract. Where we make an adjustment for inflation. Inflation in the past year was very high. But fortunately, there's a limit in the contract of 3% increase. The fee was originally set at $16.02 in 2015. That's what we were having to pay. And you set a collection fee of $16.95 at that time. Last year, it went up to $16.50. Now it's going up another 50 cents this year to $17. Those lines have crossed and we're now paying more than we're collecting. So what we recommended is that you change the trash collection fee by 50 cents. Well, 50 cents would be the first increase since more than 10 years ago. Because you actually went down when we signed this contract in 2015. So that would let us continue to collect about 45 cents per month to pay for the postage, the billing process, and dealing with the trash hauling contract. Are there any questions? All right, thank you.
The only, and Steve, you can keep me honest on this. The only thing I would have to say is that I know people get frustrated sometimes with the speed, or sometimes you don't get collected the, you know, the day it's supposed to be collected, but you'll get it collected the next day. What did we call them? We had a nice name for them. I call them the garbage committee. Solid Waste Advisory Committee. Thank you. Solid Waste Advisory Committee took a look at our contracts and what our options were a couple of years ago. And it was not economical for us to move off this contract at this time. Our fees would have gone way, way up with anyone else that we were using. So the garbage committee made a recommendation that we stay with the current contract that we have until it expires. They're well within their rights to increase our rates a little bit, but nothing like we would see with other garbage collectors at this time. So, while we're going up, I just want people to understand that we're trying to maintain costs. And keep the service, acceptable, but it's not perfect. And we try to work with that as much as we can.
Yes, we're, at the 1745, we're still significantly below the market. If you were to go out and bid this contract out, it would probably be in around $24-25. So, the town is in a very good position, at least for the next few years, so this contract to end, and then, of course, it will have to be out. So, absolutely. Do you want to read the title of this, Elise? All right.
Still trying to see what's working. We're up and running now. Oh, excellent. So this is resolution 2023-03, a resolution of the town of Oakland, Florida, revising the residential solid waste recycling service charges provided in section 42-23 of the town code of ordinances, providing for legislative findings of fact, providing for severability, and providing an effective date.
Do we have any questions at the table? Do we have a motion?
Make a motion to approve resolution 2023-03.
I'll second
Great. Any comment from the audience?
Mr. Jones, on 1320 John's Cove Lane, when does the contract, I can't remember, I was on the.
Can you,
Yeah.
can you say that? for
Yeah,
us?
John Smith from 1320 John's Cove Lane. I was on the committee with that, and I wondered, I can't remember, when does the contract end?
It'll be January 31, 2025.
Okay, so we have to.
But the extension, we chose not to extend.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, so probably this time next year or late this year, we'll need to start that process up again.
It starts early.
Yes.
Don't we have to let them know?
6 months.
That's not right.
There is no extension to this one, so we're essentially gonna need to, go through.
Run it out. Yeah, just run it out.
Yeah. But you'll need to start that process early, because it's a lengthy process to go through the bid process on for garbage contract.
We can't wait till the 11th hour, 6 months prior.
Right.
You guys start looking at the end of the
Right.
year,
Yes.
especially how much competitive.
Right.
How high they are out there, so.
Yeah.
And we need to look.
It's costly.
All right, I'm gonna bring it back to the table. Did I have a motion? Okay, yes, no, you did. Okay, we have a motion and a second. All in favor? Okay. John's Lake outfall canal update. So I'm gonna let Steve start.
All right, this is just, I don't have a whole lot to update, but, so at the last meeting, in January, I gave a presentation, we talked at length about the, Johns Lake outfall canal. The various issues with, Johns Lake side of things and the number of houses over there and their dependence on this canal actually working and conveying water out of Johns Lake to Lake Apopka. We talked about the terminus and the issues with the silt at the end that Mr. Christie and Mr. Ward are having issues with, as well as the neighbor next door and Mr. Summers, it sounds like also. I've had 2 meetings since then, and again, we talked about the amount of erosion that's happening within the canal itself. And the erosion that started actually going back to 2017 and Hurricane Irma. The last 5 years have been very wet years. We've had 2 major storms as well as Nicole coming through. But Irma and Ian, and then 2020 was a very wet year. And so the amount of water that's been coming through that canal and moving out of Johns Lake, being conveyed out of Johns Lake has been at very high levels and created an immense amount of erosion. Their issues aren't just what's going on at the terminus. There are issues with Winter's Landing, the area along Winter's Landing that is adjacent to the canal. They've got 2 stormwater ponds that are actually not part of any development that's going on with Oakland Park. Two stormwater ponds where the sides of those ponds and the berms there are eroding. And those stormwater ponds are eventually going to fail if we have some more huge rain events. So there was a lot going on with the canal and a lot of erosion going on. What has happened in the last couple of weeks, I had a meeting on January 31st. The mayor was there with Commissioner Wilson, District 1. Mr. Christie was also there. We met with the new Deputy County Administrator, John Weiss, who had looked through the study that had been done by Orange County Stormwater Division. He was had a different attitude and a different tone than what we've been getting from Orange County as far as what they would do. They pretty much had done that study and they were backing off doing anything with the canal. Mr. Weiss is going to look at the study. He'd like to have Orange County update the study and actually look at the possibility of having some more practical projects, as well as looking at the maintenance and looking at how those costs could be shared amongst all the stakeholders, because remember, this basin is 16,000 acres. Actually, the largest part of the basin is within the city of Ocoee, but it stretches from Ocoee, Winter Garden, Lake County, Claremont, Oakland, and Orange County, all put water into Johns Lake, and all that water is running through this canal. Again, there's 42 different landowners that are adjacent to this canal, and there's been no real maintenance that's happened to this canal in a number of years. So I was encouraged by Mr. Weiss wanting to look at the study and try to do some analysis and update the analysis on the study, look at some practical projects with it, and then have some discussions as far as local agreements on how some of those things could be tackled, as well as if we have some good projects put together that deal with flooding as well as water quality, they might be eligible for some grants through St. John's. So there's definitely some light there as far as Orange County. And then yesterday I had a meeting with St. John's River Water Management District, and I was able to sit, Joe Dunn was able to set the meeting up with FOLA, through FOLA, but I was able to sit with Mike Register, who's the executive director for St. John's, as well as Mary Ellen Winkler, who's the deputy director, and Brad Purcell, who's chief of staff. I went through the same presentation that I went through with the commission. It was a very positive discussion with them. They also wanted copies, and I sent that to them this afternoon, the link to the study that was done previously, so that they can get a better understanding of what the canal is actually about. And they were very receptive, listened, and they are going, they're more of a regulatory type agency, but I thought it was a very good discussion, because again, there are grant opportunities through St. John's, so if they're aware of the issue, as well as they're looking at other water management issues within Orange County, this can be included as part of that discussion, part of that list, because I know after Hurricane Ian, they're doing a lot of evaluations on closed basins, and this is a closed basin, considered a closed basin. So I'm encouraged by the discussion there. So those are, to me, are the two big heavy hitters at Orange County and St. John's. And so right now I feel like I've been on kind of an education, getting everybody up to speed with what's going on. The one thing that the commission tasked me with was getting some quotes. I have one quote so far. I know that Oakland Park's working on at least one or two more. So I don't have a full information to give you, but I can tell you that they want to, St. John's from the regulatory side would like to take this in two pieces. One, straightening out the canal so that it goes out north, and then two, looking at the silt issues to the west of where the canal is that's been created over the last couple of years, actually going back probably 5 years. So the first quote's pretty big. It's about $215,000. But if you break it up into the two pieces, as far as straightening out the canal, it's a little more on the reasonable side. That's something that might be able to get accomplished in short order, if everybody can kind of partner up on that. But again, I think that discussion is for another meeting until we get some more quotes and have a better understanding of what the cost might be. And I know Commissioner Satterfield's had a few conversations with some residents, so.
And I agree with St. John, and saying to break it up, straighten the canal, which is what we've done in the beginning, and then what Steve had proposed, with the thing, 2 weeks ago, and then deal with the silt with the residents, the first part of it being that $20,000, I think, is the start of a project, 21,000, something like that. Start of a project, I've, already had some conversations on maybe that 20,000 could be split between a few parties, and we move on and get that part of it done so that it at least is going in the right direction. And then I am trying to get my education done on this thing too. Tomorrow morning, John Schmidt's gonna take myself, Steve and Jack out to look at the problems on the north end. We'll go back probably and look at your end of it too. And the good news to the whole thing is we're gaining some traction now.
Yeah.
I think people are listening to us, people are seeing, but it took to become a major problem for everyone to start listening, but whatever it is, it is. So
Mhm.
I think I said this in the last meeting, I don't really care about yesterday. But as we move forward, let's just do full court press and try and get whatever we can taken care of. It's not gonna be easy, but everybody's listening now, so I believe we got the best shot that we've ever had now at trying to get this thing straightened out. If we can get to the, just straighten it out on the south end, put it out where it goes, we would probably want to talk about somehow or another, a maintenance contract on that to make sure that it stays that way too. So that should be all part of the same conversation.
So a few philosophical points, man, is it's not like we were ignoring it, but we have to make sure that we're prioritizing work and not just focusing on one thing. This is taking up an enormous amount of staff time. And, it just, we were on it then, we're on it now, like you said, it doesn't matter about the past, but there are many, many needs in this town, and this is one of them, and it is an urgent need. But we have to make sure that we're focusing on the big picture.
Absolutely.
This is not the only thing that is happening here.
Understand, Mary, but if somebody doesn't take a step, nothing is going to happen.
Well,
And this is,
yeah, and that, we can sit here all day and
Yeah.
say, we were. It is great that we've done a full court press on this and that people are paying attention now. But we have to continue to look down the road at everything. That's all I'm saying.
one step at a time. And that's what I'm saying, once we get, and I will say tonight, that once we get other quotes, that I will be the front runner and try and get this thing straightened down as the first step of it as we go.
But we have to prioritize this and go on. So and I know we have, most of the folks here are interested in this issue. So Angel, you put your hand up, come on up and tell us who you are and what you think.
Angel Cardone at 121 Mill Hollow, right next to Carl.
Yeah.
Sir, may I ask you a question?
Yes.
In your discussion in these quotes, did you discuss anything with those before?
Do we want to got the quote?
Okay, that, because I wanted you to know, like, you know, how we do. Bob Christie and I met with Deborah,
Yes.
and we walked out there, and to me, they seemed to come up with a solution. It seemed pretty simple. I'm not
Neither am I.
a, it sounded good to me.
They seem like a very good firm,
Right.
from my discussion with Deborah. The bottom line is, it just comes down to the financial implications of getting it done.
Deborah's comment was, we can begin this in 30 days. And Bob looked at me and said, you okay with that? You've been waiting 2 years. But I was really encouraged with that
That's
meeting.
awesome.
Yeah, so I just want to make sure that you guys knew that, you
Yeah.
obviously. Did. Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Angel. Anybody else? Come on up,
Yeah.
one at a time.
April Lukowski, with one Vandermeer again. I'm really glad to hear that you're thinking about separating the outfall into Lake Apopka from the maintenance of the rest of the canal. It affects John's Lake, based upon Steve's comments last meeting about part of the outfall canal going through Southern Oaks homeowners property that went and the plot of where our retention pond is. And I'll give this to you, Mike, but it's out here in blue. And clearly the asphalt canal does come. The remarkable thing that I noticed on this was that this silt looks remarkably like this infill dirt.
It's not.
It,
I was assured by St. John's, they've been out there to inspect it, and the cost of that bill that they're bringing in is far too costly for them to let that go down. And that started in 2017.
I'm sure there was a continual thing, but what we're talking about is an acceleration now, so I'm glad you're doing it in 2 bits. Thanks for addressing that for us, and, if you want this,
Thanks.
you're welcome. Thanks.
John?
John Schmidt, 1320 Johnsville Lane. So I, as a past president of the Johns Lake Association, been working on this issue for 10 years. So there's been a lot of issues with it. One of the things I want to keep in mind is it's a very complicated issue. I've been working with Steve and a number of other the commissioners, both past and present, and Lake County, Sean Parks, Lake County Commissioner. The issue there is, you know, the lake wants the water down and the people on the other end got to receive it, but you got to look at what happens there, because we've all been concerned about if too much water goes through that canal too fast, with the conditions that we have in the soils in the state, you'll continue to have erosion. So it's fine that we need to look at it in pieces, but I've been trying to push the county and St. John's and everyone to look at the holistic view of this, because this problem is not getting any better and the water levels have been very high. We've been charging them for the last 5 years. And so if we don't come up with a holistic solution, the problem's going to continue to go downstream. And if we don't slow that water down in some way and have some way to take those ponds and collect it, we need to talk about it in a big picture way. Because no one's come up with even this, when we had the study redone in 2020 or right about that time, we took the 2002 study and had it redone and updated to the 2020 timeline. Because we're concerned about all the building around the lake and the runoff and the fact that the water levels have kept coming up. If we don't do something about coming up with a plan that someone in the state or the counties can fund, it's all jibber jabber. It's just discussion. We've been having that conversation a long time. And every time we go in the canal, when the water levels are below 94, it's dry. But when it's above 94, everything that we dig around in there ends up downstream, ends up in these people's property, and ends up in Lake Apopka. No one wants that either. So it's a very, very complicated issue with many, many of the agencies been involved. And again, what I'm hoping is going to happen out of this is we come up with a plan, because there's been nothing done on the end coming out of the lake to get to Highway 50. If that water was allowed to come through there faster than it does now, the problem downstream would be worse. So they came up with a few projects that we didn't like when they did the study. None of those were really palatable. There were $3 million+ to do some work there, and it wouldn't really solve the problem. So there's more work to be done, a lot more work to be done on the big picture. I think rerouting will help a lot right away when it's not going to solve the problem.
No, and when I say that, it's all on the fact of just getting started somewhere. My simple little head is saying from start to finish, somehow it's got to be fixed. And I wish I could tell you right now, I have that idea and I have that check, but I don't have either one of those things. But that is the goal in my, and I would like to say collectively, all of our is to get the whole thing done.
We would definitely like to get that fixed, but we definitely need to make sure that we are keeping our eye on all the other balls in this panel.
Well, and the challenge.
This is one of the big ones. I acknowledge that. And I just would like to get a permanent, or at the best we can do, fix, so that we can continue on with anything else that we need to.
Because the challenge, really, it's not, the town of Oakland has a tiny piece of this out of the 26 square mile drainage basin. The town of Oakland has like this much of it.
Yeah.
So they talk about funding and all the people that benefit from what's going on and what goes through there. It's a challenge, and that's where we need help. That's why we went to Lake County and said, well, what do you, half the lake is in Lake County and they all benefit from this.
Yeah, it's like now, what can they do between 8,500 cars coming through our town?
Right. That's right.
The Wild West out there.
So I just wanted you to be aware, you know, it's not that people haven't been working on it, it's just very complicated.
No, and we're fully aware.
I think that we've been remiss But it just, this is where it is now and we're dealing with it.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, I think it's good, I mean, it really is.
And everybody that I talked to, I make the point because you know, I've got some real concerns on Don Lake side. And I made this point with St. John yesterday. And I talked about this at the last meeting, that we got about 6 to 8 inches of rain from Hurricane Ian within Oakland and within the majority of this basin. There were areas that got 18 inches of rain in East Orange County. If we had gotten that 18 inches of rain in this 16,000 acres, Johns Lake would probably be over 99 feet, and you would have had, we wouldn't have been talking about silt in front of people's docks. We would have been talking about houses that had,
Underwater.
had water in them, where they couldn't live in their houses anymore, as well as, septic field, drain fields and septic tanks and other things happening. So it is, the sense of urgency is there with these rain events that we've had. And we need to reroute it. I think that's the first thing that needs to happen, because that will minimize further damage to the west, or, further silt. And then the entirety of this canal needs to be looked at from construction, from stabilization to maintenance, all the way down, so that it works as good as it's supposed, as it expected. It's not going to solve all problems in John Lake, because it's like a straw in a bathtub, but it needs to work as it's expected to work,
Right.
Steve, we have two other people pricing this. Did the company pricing this?
Yeah, there's some other companies working with
They're
the
pricing
pricing.
it over.
Mhm.
Price money.
I'll get with her tomorrow and find out where she's at.
And then they're gonna bid it in scope versus straightening out the canal
Well,
versus.
and St. John's, when I talk about two projects, St. John's is talking about straightening it out as one permit and then the silt removal as a second permit. So the bids should come in that way.
The $215,000 that came in has a straighten out of the canal. separate.
21,000 of it was to straighten out,
So-
and then 195,000 of it to remove the silt.
We have, and I agree with you, Mayor, there's a big picture of things that we have to do with the town. This is the big elephant,
Yeah,
and we have to one bite at a time.
Right.
But the first bite, we have to take that out of this elephant, is straighten out the canal. All hands on deck for that. I know there's a lot of balls to juggle. I think that should be the first one we get.
I think
And the
that
rest of
makes
it-
sense.
I mean, you talk 10 years of going back and forth with red tape and all, St. John's Pole and everyone else wants to get involved, sure, but that straighten out will help alleviate the rest of the residents in the back of
Because
the.
one thought, that maybe not for this discussion, but tomorrow when we talk, and maybe some more, is, when you do Catherine Ross Road, when you start digging up and doing all that, what the county did a number of years ago when they did Avalon Road, they blocked Avalon, they blocked Black Lake and Tilden, so they could not flow anymore into the basin. And that was the only way they could construct it without creating a huge silt mess into the canal that goes to Johns Lake. We may have to do something similar between Johns Lake and the ditch to be able to do what needs to be done, or all that's gonna go downstream and end up in the stream.
I mean, but the first bite is straighten it out,
That's right,
one way or the other.
Yeah.
Now,
that's right.
and
Yeah.
then, as they figure out how to fix it or get money or fund or some sort of grant, we can think about that later. Right now, this should be the priority.
Well, and understand Oakland Park is going to have to do some stabilization to the canal within their property. Because they need to cross that canal, because they've still got a northern section on the other side of the canal. So St. John's is going to require them to do some work within the canal, and part of what that's going to do is slow that water down and allow some of this silt and stuff to drop out of it and then spill over and then continue down the canal. So there will be some improvements that they are required to make as part of their project. And then the bigger piece, but hopefully straightening it out and Oakland Park doing the things that they are in control of will start the process to then look at the bigger
Well,
strip.
let's go buy some time and straighten it out.
I,
That needs to happen because hurricane, you're talking about hurricanes in the past. I'm talking about like hurricanes that could come, rain season about to start.
Oh, no,
I think we're all in agreement of where we're going, and
Yes.
everyone has that same sense of trying to get it done, start to finish, the very best and the fastest we can.
well, I think that Sal is right, that the first thing we need to do is straighten this out and focus on that. But this cannot be the only thing that our staff,
I agree with it.
it just can't.
No, nobody's saying that, but it's the only thing, but.
It will take
Yeah,
time. I would have but the first bite should happen. So
I agree with that,
maybe.
but this is such an enormous amount of focus from an enormous amount of people. And it's worth the focus if we can move on once we decide what the priority is. So that people can, so staff can focus on it.
if we already put all these hours with the staff,
I
we're
know,
already committed to get the first bite out of it.
yeah, you gotta get.
I think we're all there.
Yeah.
So,
I think we're all-
Did the county, what county commit to take the lead on the rest of it? That's what I think you and I kicked around.
They are evaluating it. I think they're headed in that direction, but they are at least willing to evaluate, and look at, the bigger picture. And, so yes, I felt like we were headed in that. direction.
Staff and engineering detail is required, a lot of stuff is bigger than what we have.
Yeah.
well, what's encouraging the part is we finally are gonna leave with other.
I felt like it was a positive discussion.
Yes.
And that the potential's there for them to get.
I felt like, the conversation we had with the new deputy director was very positive.
Okay.
And
Very, very.
let's not forget, Commissioner Satterfield stated he was on quarterback. We
Yeah.
got people that, we came with a plan last time,
Yeah,
and so.
and I appreciate all your work. I do.
All right, Mahomes.
I just,
It was in the ring.
Yeah, I already made it to the world.
You're the general manager of the team.
no, but Rogers.
He's an eagle.
No,
Well, I like it.
yeah, no, I'm
All
over
right.
there with Rogers, but, yeah, it just. I appreciate our ability to come together and really focus on something. But we also have to always keep an eye on the big picture. That's all. So I appreciate all the help and, I think that we're on our way for at least first.
We'll have it on the agenda again for the next meeting.
Of course. All right. Guess what? We're the town manager report.
Right, I got
Unless anybody wanted to talk about the connect. Good.
Playing out of turn.
We'll go ahead and start with this. So we had Heritage Day on the 28th.
Is that your lead in?
We had about 2,500, the full report's in the agenda. So we had about 2,500 people in attendance. We had about 850 people go through the center. 5K race had 350 runners in it. And the food trucks did awesome. They sold about 1,450 meals. So I believe all the vendors were very happy. Food truck vendors were happy. And I'm sorry, I wasn't there, but it sounded like it was a fabulous.
It was great. It was awesome.
And so it was awesome. As part of it, the,
No? What was wrong?
But he was looking at me. I said, music was great. I said, it wasn't.
It was what?
Wasn't him.
It wasn't you. Okay.
We were looking at.
You gotta meet with the.
All right.
so, Alicia had a video commission, so we can, play on the screen and stuff. So here's the video.
Maybe.
Oh, maybe, no, it's not. Come here. Sorry.
Well, you saw the video. What do you think?
Okay, ready?
Thank you.
So that'll show up on the screens over at the, and I think a little bit on social media, so, yeah, very great event. Other things, we had Black History Month opening last week, and I thought that was well attended, and that was a very nice event.
Very nice.
Got some really cool stuff in there, Barack Obama pictures, like amazing, Michelle Obama. And then, a couple other things, the forms have been turned in to both the Senate and the House for our alternative water project. I got a call from Representative Honesty confirming that, the House form has been turned in. And, I got the Senate form in, last week to, our lobbyists, so those are, we're in, we'll see how things play out.
Thanks, yeah.
And then, Congressman Webster is coming to town on Thursday.
Yes,
Asked to speak with the mayor, myself, and Pete Easton, so we'll be meeting with him and Jack will be there.
so what have you done wrong, chief?
Where do I start?
You said that.
But now that his district covers Oakland again, I think he's just coming in to catch up on what we've got going on, so.
Well, we've never known him to interfere. But he's always been a good supporter and he's always showed up for things that no other elected official shows up for, like hammering, whatever it is that you hammer into roofs.
Yeah.
No, what's the,
Shingles.
Shingles.
On the Habitat House.
yes.
I'm thinking, what? I couldn't.
So he's, he gets up on roofs in the middle of the summer and hammers in shingles. And, so he's always been a good supporter of ours. He came out for the, playground, Pollard Park Playground. So, that's great. But, we'll be happy to see what he's here for on Thursday. Anything else?
That's all I've got.
Okay. Sal,
I'm good. Really good.
Rick,
Tours at the preserve last Saturday was another big success at OMP. Even though we made a last minute decision to move it indoors because we were worried about the weather. And it actually was very well received having indoors. A lot of people haven't ever seen the museum over there. So it went very well, and they sold 140 tickets and raised around $5,000.
that's awesome. Very good, very good. And I know you were worried about the weather, so that's really good.
Well, figured left it outside, there's a chance of getting totally rained out. If we moved it indoors, it won't, not going to get rained out, so it would still happen. And it probably could have taken place outdoors, but it went very well.
Well, you never know. Okay, Joseph,
I attended 2 meetings in January. On January 27th. I attended Tiger Bay, and this guest speaker was the University of Central Florida, new president. And UCF has just done some amazing things with technology, with NASA. And I expanded their footprint all over Central Florida. UCF is really doing some amazing things. And they really care about the students. I would say if you get a chance to just watch how they're expanding their programming, how they take care of their students, the university is in great hands. So there's a lot of things going over there, like especially around with NASA, and a lot of the graduates from UCF are going over there with NASA, so they have a lot of good connection going back and forth. But UCF is doing some great things. And the next meeting I attended on 131, Port Black Caucus, local elected officials had Scott Dudley, and it goes back to what I talked about a lot before. doing advocacy. So Scott Dudley is going around the state, talking to all the local elected officials. This is to get us involved with advocacy. There's a lot of communication going back and forth with Tallahassee, and they just digging in, starting now, because we know there's special committees, and I know the session starts later on this year, a couple more months, so another month or so. And they just trying to get us all involved. So Scott Dudley is on a road show around the state. And just, trying to get us involved with things that's going to affect us as municipalities to ensure that we're communicating back and forth with our legislators. We have a lot of new legislators. And it's just part of educating them and trying to get them to understand that we want to be a partner. And I have all these unfunded mandates coming to us and tell us what to do. And so it's a big push in Scott Dudley. That's a big thing. So
He's been around a long time. He's got his way to.
So we're just trying to get us involved. So yeah, he will probably be a guest speaker for Tri-County, one of our lunches in the future, to share what he's doing. He's trying to get residents, he's trying to get like an official staff and everyone involved in the advocacy part.
Yeah, and we're looking at some of the lunch and see which ones we can really show up for.
Yeah. With the Tri-County meeting this Thursday, just focus on how to use opera dollars, American Rescue Plan dollars, and speak to me when we get talents on this coming Thursday when we're married. It's pretty cool.
Very
But it has the experts. I said, hey, we're doing some good stuff with our opera dollars.
well, that's awesome. Mike?
I do have a few things. We had SAC meeting today, and it's just more for informational for everyone. We're gonna send out some requests for a proposal for branding for the school, kind of the way that we did here with the town, except we'll be on a much smaller level, of course, because of the school. It's all pretty haphazard over there, so we're trying to just fix that and make it, one legitimate thing. They all say our eagle doesn't look really good now. We need a friendlier eagle, and the color scheme should all be the same type stripes and all that. So same kind of thing we did here on a smaller basis. So more to come on that. We're just going to send out the request for the proposal now. The other thing is PTO. We went, and I will say that the teachers and the staff, they were thrilled to death over the luncheon the other day that we all did, and they were very, very appreciative. The piece still missing is PTO, and PTO, I asked them to come up with some ideas, because for all of us to get together with them, it's a lot harder because their meetings are mostly online now, so they're not together. Today they came up with an idea that might be a pretty cool idea, and again, more to come on it, is maybe we do some small gathering with them, and we plan a trade, whether it's a nature preserve, whether it's a pool in their honor, and have like reserves and stuff like that to celebrate it. So they're coming up with some pretty cool ideas. And the important thing is they know we're thinking about it and we're appreciative. And I say we, that as a commissioner self staff, or we interact together with us as the commission. We don't get to do that with the PTO. And the money they give us is just
Amazing.
we could probably straight that a canal or something.
Yeah.
The last thing that I do have is at the bottom of school is town business, and it's just food for thought for everybody for right now, and encourage me. And talking with Mike Parker the same way, we're paving Star Street on down as it goes out the south side, the south side, and going towards between the Lakeside Church and Tractor Supply. That loop where it would turn right to go on Sadler, and then back to the right to go on to Rock, that would make that one little kind of enclave for the school traffic. It might behoove us to pave those blocks. And I'm not one that wants to just start paving the road. Believe me, we got hung for that like 20 years ago. But behind the church, between the church and the between both churches, actually, there is no residency on that, and it was back that would say on the Brock side, it would have bought 2 houses. So I asked that we take a look and look at that and see what we think. It would come up with the dust incredibly for you know, for all those people that are waiting in line for the kids for the cars
Yeah.
and for both sides of the churches. So something to think about and maybe give a direction to you guys. They've already got their plans for that, so I don't think, Mike, correct me if I'm wrong, that could even go into be part of the plans, it would have to be something done extra after the fact.
Well, it wouldn't interfere with the plans of Star Street. Is that what your question is?
It couldn't, if we so said, yeah, that's a great idea, and let's do it, it couldn't go with this plan, it would have to be a separate thing.
Well, it could, it's a change order, you know, if the price was right, and, you know, it could happen, but, you know, it's up to you all.
Not something yet budgeted right now.
Yeah, so something, if you look at it, maybe next meeting we talk about, see if we want to go that direction, it just kind of makes sense to me with that road. That it would help out both churches, it would help out the, all the cars waiting for the kids in school, so.
And the price might be a better price now that
Because it's
the
all-
contract is there already, so the change order
Right.
is not remobilization, it's already there.
Right.
Usually this last one.
So,
in my,
so, yeah,
experience.
so take a look and then sooner than later, let's talk about it too.
Okay.
That's all I have.
All right, so, we're gonna see Dan Webster on Thursday. The other thing I'm going to be doing on Thursday is going to the, chamber board meeting. And I was watching their governmental, initiative paper. So they're supporting us with our initiative, which is $2 million ask. But there's also, I just found this interesting and something to keep our eye on. Windermere is asking for $10 million to do a water, a well to water study, a water utility study. That's a lot of money. And pardon?
So how long footprint are you trying to cover?
Right, I think that would be a significant part of the town. So my question was, it wasn't answered in the initiative, is what is their hook-on cost? Now, we're talking about people who are affluent, but that is a heavy lift.
Yeah.
And they are also doing a septic to sewer study that I think is about $2 million just for the study. So there's a lot of, and this is a question I think for the people we work with in Tallahassee. Are these all going to Tallahassee and are we going to be competing with this? These are initiatives that probably should have been looked at 30 years ago. And they're also looking at a bike route initiative, which is another, do you know how much it is?
I don't know, I didn't keep track of the different costs. Windermere had like 4 or 5 different.
Yeah,
projects.
it's huge. Everything supports huge.
Trail, transportation, water and wastewater, and I don't know, when you spread yourself out that then whether, you take away your opportunities, I'm not sure.
Is it a strategy?
Take away your opportunities, but I'm being parochial. I'm worried about them taking our opportunities away.
Well, I was taking an opportunity and because it's a strategy, maybe? The stars, man, and the moon, I mean, do they need that much?
Didn't they do the same thing last year though?
They had 4 projects in last year, didn't even,
That
I don't think they even got in the budget.
Okay. I just, it frustrates me to see things that should have been done a long time ago.
I
And
don't
not
think,
all together. I think they're sitting back and going, oh, we missed the opportunity.
well, they're trying to take care of some of the things that they need to take care of, and whether you go, do them incrementally, or whether you go out from all at once, I mean, it's just a different strategy, but they're trying to do what's best for them. I don't think that they're going to cause us any issues with our particular project.
But a $10 million water project,
$2 million study just for sewer.
yeah, $2 million for sewer. I mean, these are big numbers.
Well,
I can't remember, was it $1 million for the bikes? Can't remember, bike ride.
but, we've always come in with other funding sources to try to help with these things, and we've come in incrementally and try to take it and try to take the elephant one
bite at a time. But what I think I'm trying to say is we need to keep an eye on this
Oh, yeah,
to make sure we position ourselves appropriately.
absolutely.
You know, and I get that they want to do the right thing by their town, but I think that they have a lot of ground to cover.
Yeah,
That's advocacy, whether it's for us or for the state.
We always are ahead of the game.
That's all.
Yep, you're absolutely right. So I think we've got a lot of things going on. And, I know Mike said something about, am I gonna get you in trouble?
Is that a segue into me speaking or something?
Very short, a very short speech about, didn't we get some more money?
We did just yesterday. You probably haven't heard about it, but we were awarded $150,000 from their septic to sewer project. So once we get the contract in place, we'll feel a lot better, but we were notified of it yesterday.
Cool.
What area is that? Mike?
It is, well, it's for the charter school and the public safety building in particular. That's what it was, that's what we told them. It is a cost share, by the way, and we do have the cost share money budgeted, so there's no problem.
Awesome,
So anyway, good news.
you guys are great at that.
so you all have the annual report for the building for the Heritage Center.
It's very cool.
So just, you have a moment, take a look at that, and you get all the great things happening.
All right, and, Steve and Jack, I guess we'll meet on here at 8 o'clock in the morning at town hall. Okay.
He's gonna need it. Or we're,
No, he's gonna meet us in it,
right.
and then we'll go with the Elton guy.
Where we go.
That's a balloon.
Yeah, no.
You've heard of Schneider, I think.
Hey, Joseph.
All right, all hearts and minds are satisfied. We're 6 p.m.
Oh, we did a lot of good stuff. Time.
Happy Valentine's